Hey guys, Metal Viking 82 here, and this video I'm going to be talking about some honorable mentions that, while good albums, just didn't make it into the top 25 for me. Like I said, just because they're not in the top 25 doesn't mean that they suck. They're not terrible albums by any means. They just didn't make it into my list is all. Though I am going to talk briefly about a few that really did disappoint me, and I'm not even going to show them. That's how much of a disappointment they were to me. That, and I was just too damn lazy after digging out everything for the top 25, and this this list I didn't feel like doing it. But first up, Hailstorm. Fucking hate it. I loved their debut album. I thought it was a solid release, and their follow up, not too bad. But then they released this, and I absolutely hated it. I honestly cannot think of a song off the top of my head that I actually enjoyed off of that album. And I'm hoping that they step it up on their next release if they decide to put out a new one, because this one really let me down. Next was All That Remains. Yeah, their last couple albums have really started to make me lose faith in this band. I don't know what it is. I really wanted to like this because I've always liked All That Remains. They've released some good stuff, but man, this new one just was terrible. Slayer, their newest one. I know a lot of people complain. One thing they complained about it is that it reminded them of God Hates Us All, and a lot of people hate that album. I actually enjoy it. I one of the few it seems to actually enjoy God Hates Us All, and I started out actually really liking the new Slayer, but the more I listened to it, I realized it's not a really good Slayer album. I mean, they haven't really released a good album in quite a while. They've had some pretty decent ones, I guess you could say, but overall, nothing can beat early Slayer. There's just no getting around that fact. Next is Karak Angren, their latest album. I really wanted to like it. I really did. And I've enjoyed their other releases, and I end up picking up the boxed version of this one that comes with a little wooden planchette and everything. I was real excited for it. And, first couple listens, I was like, all right, pretty good, pretty good. And then just the more I listened to it, I don't know. I just started finding myself concentrating on other things, and it just kind of became more background music to me. And it left me wanting a little bit more. Next up, Mirker. The EP that she put out, I thought was really good. I was really excited for it because it was, one woman black metal. Holy crap, And which technically not anymore because she has all these, musicians playing with her now. But the Mike Seatown really, said it correctly, I guess you can say, in his review of the album, in that it started out, you listen to it, you're like, all right, it's not too bad. I can get into this. And then just the more you listen to it, it just becomes boring. She's really put out a pretty mediocre album, to be honest with you. And I found another band to kind of replace her as what a one-woman black metal band should sound like. Sorry, I'm having, major brain fart there. It's been kind of a long day for me. I've had to try to get a lot of stuff done, this Christmas Eve. And I'm just, trying to get all this accomplished. And yeah, anyway, enough rambling from me. I'm sorry. Next up, we have Blind Guardian. Their new album, on my disappointment list, what the fuck? Blind Guardian, one of my favorite bands to listen to. They were the one that got me into quote-unquote underground metal. Introduced me to bands like, Hammerfall, Falconer, Stradivarius, etc. It was because of them that I have the massive collection that I have today. Them and really Kiss and Judas Priest. But anyway, I have pretty much enjoyed every Blind Guardian album to an extent. And then I listened to this one, and it's just missing something. I don't get that. It doesn't grab me like a lot of the other Blind Guardian albums did. I don't get it. Maybe down the line it'll grow on me. I don't know. But for right now, it's definitely a disappointment. Next up is Panzer, a project featuring Schmear from Destruction and a couple other guys from, I forget where they come from. I'm sorry. It just totally, escaped me. But yeah, it's to the point I'm actually thinking about selling that album. I just don't really care for it all that much. And the last kind of disappointment for me was the new 6 Feet Under album, which I know they've really become a joke lately. But I've always, to an extent, enjoyed 6 Feet Under, and their early stuff was really pretty good. And then, really, it's just time for Barnes to hang it up. I'm sorry to say. Maybe, who knows? Maybe their next one will get better. I don't know, but I seriously doubt his vocals are going to improve anytime soon. So anyway, on to the actual honorable mentions. These are the ones that I thought were good albums. They just did not make it into my top 25 list. First up, New Year's Day with Malevolence. And one that was, literally a surprise because I didn't even realize it was coming out until pretty much like a couple days before it was released. Disturbed with Immortalized. Fucking love Disturbed. And like I said, they did not tell anybody they were working on a new album until pretty much a short while before they were going to release it. And yeah, good stuff. Then we have Manson's latest one, The Pale Emperor. Pretty much after, Antichrist Superstar / Hollywood, it really started getting iffy with him. The quality of his releases really went down. There was, ones that had some decent songs on, maybe here and there, but overall it's very hit and miss. This is a really good return to form, in my opinion, and probably one of his best albums in a long time. And next we have the latest one from Trivium, Silence in the Snow. Man, they got to make that so damn difficult to read on the spine. Really good album, I think. A lot of people are really surprised by Matt Heffy's vocals on here, and it's definitely a surprise. And me and Tyler were listening to this one night, and he said, it's kind of weird. You get this song that starts out really super heavy, and you're thinking, all right, and you're expecting kind of like Ascendancy type stuff, and then you get these clean vocals, and it just like throws you for a loop. But overall, though, this is a pretty good album. Just didn't make it into my top 25. Another good return to form, Bullet for My Valentine, with Venom. Their last album was a steaming pile of shit. This is a return to form. This is what Bullet for My Valentine is supposed to sound like. This next one is one that actually got me kind of, I guess you can say, back into the band, because I was only ever going to really have their first 4 because that was the only ones I considered worth owning. And this album proved me wrong. I listened to a couple songs off of it after a couple people were telling me that it's actually really fucking good. That is Soilwork with The Ride Majestic. I love this album. The title track alone was actually one of the songs that I listened to, and as soon as I heard that, and I just listened to a few others, I had to pick this up. Definitely going to be going back and checking out Soilwork's other material. Next up, Marduk, Front Schwein. It's Marduk. You know what you're going to get with Marduk. Just another solid black metal album. And this is actually my first for this band, and that's King Parrot with Dead Set. Never really heard these guys before. I remember reading about them, and I was reading an interview with, I think it's the guitarist, and he was talking about recording this album with, I remember Phil Anselmo helped record this, or I know he released the CD version of it here in America. But anyway, he was talking about, working with Phil Anselmo and everything, and I decided to check them out and loved what I heard and picked up the album. But again, just didn't make it into the list. Same with this, Oceano, Ascendance, really good album. These guys have gone from a really good deathcore band to a really good death metal band, in my opinion. They still got some of their core elements in there, of course, but overall, pretty solid death metal. As is this, Holy War by Thy Art Is Murder. Really solid album, just didn't make it into my list. And this right here is a really awesome, brutal death metal album. I really dig the cover of it, too, and that's Brute Force Lobotomy by Serial Butcher, released on Unique Leader, and that right there should tell you pretty much what you're going to get. Unlike a lot of Unique Leader releases, it's not so much on the technical side, but definitely high on the brutality side. I mean, if you love brutal death metal, you owe it to yourself to check these guys out, I think. Next up is Wolfheart with Shadow World. Really good melodic death metal, and I didn't even realize this was coming out until I happened to see it in FYE. I just got into this band not long ago, and like I said, I had no idea they were releasing a new one until I was in FYE and I came across this. Solid stuff, just like I said before, just didn't make it into that top 25. Cataclysm of Ghosts and Gods. Really good album. I actually enjoy this a lot more than their last couple of albums. You know, Cataclysm is one of those bands that, again, up to a certain point, they were really good. I loved everything that I heard. And then after that, it just kind of, it was hit and miss for me. Serenity and Fire, really good album. And then after that, it just kind of, And their last few had just been kind of a little disappointing in a way, but this is a definite improvement. And next is a band that didn't think they were ever going to reform, and they put out a pretty damn solid comeback album. Skinless with Only the Ruthless Remain. Really good death metal. These guys, I'm glad to see them back. That's all I can really say. And the last one is really good Ukrainian black metal band, and I'm talking about Druk with A Furrow Cut Short. This is the wooden case edition. I'd actually already bought the digipack of this, but when I saw this, I had to pick it up. There was just no getting around it. But yeah, this is it's Druk. If you've ever heard Druk, you know what to expect from these guys. I mean, out of the albums that I've heard, I've yet to hear a bad one from them. And I'm sure they might have some really, pretty mediocre releases. I don't really know. I've only really gotten into Druk definitely within the last year or so, and I've gotten only a handful of their albums, and so far everything I've heard has just been really good. So, but yeah, that was A Furrow Cut Short. Good album, just not top 25 material. So yeah, that is my little list here of honorable mentions. Hopefully, again, like I said before, hopefully I didn't ramble on too long. I know sometimes I get to talking and just talking about random shit and then lose track and make myself sound like a total moron. So yeah, that'll do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing, and until next time, stay brutal.